$3, that's not as valuable as if everyone is pricing up the high-end guys and there's inflation on the high-end guys, and in the end of the draft, you can get, for your $1 or $2, you can get a guy that's worth $9 or $10. Then you want to approach it more that way. So it really depends, and knowing your league goes a long way towards knowing how to structure your own auction, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I mean, the two key things that you hit on is, number one, it depends on the league depth. And yes, Stars and Scrubs works better in a mixed league and with a more shallow depth. And the spread the risk approach works a lot better in the tighter leagues, in the longer depth of a league, mono leagues and 15, 18 team mixed. But the point you made also is it really depends on what the others are pricing. I mean, to me, I don't go into an auction and say I'm going to do Stars and Scrubs, or I'm going to do spread the risk. I want to be able to pick out value in every spot. I want to be able to say, okay, is there any value in the $30 range? Is there any value in the $25 range? Is there any value in the $10 range? Because I want to, if I'm going to a jewelry store and there's a bunch of bins, there's the platinum bin, there's the diamond bin, there's the gold bin and the silver bin. I want to be able to pick out a nice gem that works in each category. I don't go and say, I'm just going to take the diamonds and a bunch of scrubs. Right? I want to be able to look at each bin and value for myself what I think is a good value in each place. I mean, the thing about auctions is it's more about the market. There's market premiums and discounts. If everybody is paying $1 over for the stars up top, paying that $1 over is a great idea. It's a small market premium for the top. You'll find that if you don't do that, they're going to get that top player and they're going to extract value at the bottom because they're going to have the money to do it. But if you're in a situation that they're paying $8, $10 above market, it does not pay to play in that bin. You're going to soak up the whole middle and, by the way, also the end. And you're going to get value from all those places. I mean, just to show you, I played this year in both Tout Wars and Labor. In Labor, I was very aggressive early on because the market premiums were low. I saw that, I can get a guy at 30, I can get a guy at 25, and I bid. I kept pressing the button online, go, 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 and everyone said, wow, that guy keeps bidding. In Tout Wars, I didn't buy anybody for the first 30 players. Prices were haywire, and everyone's like, I guess Ariel's not going to do anything. What are you waiting for? You got nobody. We're worried. And I soaked up the entire middle, a $17 Tim Anderson and a $13 Jose Abreu. What? A $15 Pete Alonso. And, of course, I got that because everyone didn't have the money. And, by the way, I scooped up the whole bottom. Yes, I didn't have $1 bids at the bottom, but I had the $3 bids, which turned into the $9 instead of the $1 turning to $5. So I got value from all those places, and it's because I saw at the very top, test what the market. Where is the market premium? Is it the market over? Then you got to play a certain way. Is the market not strong enough? Then go at it and be strong.
I also think there's something having to do with knowing the entire player pool. If you're doing Stars and Scrubs, you're going to be living on the waiver wire the entire season. You're going to be flipping guys back and forth. If you're not knowledgeable about this and you just go blindly and you're like, I don't have any outfielders left. What do I do? You're going to be in trouble also. So if you know that you don't know the player pool that well, Stars and Scrubs is not going to work for you. If you do know it well, then you know what? You know the diamond in the rough. You have a better chance of picking that diamond in the rough, and then you can do Stars and Scrubs, and it does work.
And talking about value, Derek is the NL Labor champion of this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
One thing I know that you do is you go hard on a specific type of corner infielder, or I should say you pay attention greatly to what happens in the corner infielder. Can you just explain your method there and what you see?
I mean, every year is going to be different, but the last year or two, there's just been a lot of value at corner infield, and I think that's because of biases that fantasy players have. A lot of players that are corner infielders are playing corner infield because they're older, they're nearing the end of their career, they can't play the other defensive positions, and so they're older, boring players. And fantasy players don't like old, boring players. Even if they're good players, even if they will give you value, fantasy players don't want that. They want the shiny new toy. They want the rookie. They want the guy that's the hypey breakout guy or whatever, the sleepers. and that's not usually corner infielders. And so you wind up with guys, I mean, this year was just the perfect example of it. You wind up with guys like Joey Votto going at 400 ADP, or Brandon Belt going at 400 ADP, or CJ Cron going too late, or just like Evan Longoria, Eduardo Escobar, like these guys that coming into the year, how many of you, like, raise your hand if any of you, like, said going into a draft, I know I'm going to get Joey Votto, I know I'm going to get Brandon Belt. Not one of you. I went into every single draft thinking I'm going to get these guys because no one else wants them and they're good. And so I think that's something to pay attention to. And that was the question earlier about Vlad and Bichette. I don't want to take Vlad early because I'm locking up a corner infield spot. I don't want to pay, market value for Vlad or even get a $2 discount on Vlad when I'm going to get a $10 discount on Votto later.
And think about this. 3 players in the last 2 full seasons, 2019 and this past year, have hit 35 or more home runs for the entire season. 2 of them are corner infielders. Can you name them?
35 or more home runs.
35 or more home runs in the last 2 full seasons, 2019 and this year. 2 of them are corner infielders.
Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso's one. Anyone? Jose Abreu did not. He did not reach it in 2019. Bryce Harper is the outfielder. He did it twice also. Matt Olson. Matt Olson is a reliable middle infielder. He's not going to go expensive. He's not that sexy new toy that's there. And you know what? You can get him for a good value, and you can almost bank those 35 homers. As long as he stays where he is and he has that pretty decent lineup and he doesn't get hurt and doesn't break his finger, then he's perfectly fine. He'll hit those 35 home runs.
I'm going to throw out an auction strategy for you guys here, and Ruben and I have done this. It's called the Joey Votto nomination strategy. What I mean by that is Joey Votto, as Derek knows, is one of these guys that he goes for $1 or $2 at the end of the auction, but he's going to be worth $6, $7, or at least that's what the values say. It's massive. It's a $6 profit at the very end, at least by projections. Go for the last couple of years.
I mean, if you're using the Bad X, it probably told you like 12 to 15.
Right. And if you're using ATC, it was like around 10 also. So.
Yeah. Still high. But the reason why I say that is if I'd be happy to buy Joey Votto for $1 or $2 in the auction. What I hate is for somebody else to buy Joey Votto for $1 or $2 at the auction. So what I do is somewhere in the middle, if I've already bought my first baseman maybe, or if I haven't, doesn't matter. I throw out somewhere in the middle. We're not up to $1 days, but Joey Votto $2. And if I win him, I'm pretty happy that I won Joey Votto for $2. But if I don't win him, that means somebody's bidding 3, 4, and they always go higher than they should in the middle. It collapses his return on investment, right? So now you got to pay $5 for Joey Votto to be worth $7. I'm okay with somebody else getting that little dinky return, and I'm okay with me getting the big return. So that's why I collapse it. I want to collapse the issue. Nominations and auctions are extremely important, should not be wasted at any point. There's a lot of good economic things you can do.
And we actually did that 2 years ago in Labor. We did that, and on the radio while they were listening to us, they were like,
Too early.
What are you doing? Who's nominating Joey Votto in the 3rd round? What are you doing?
Well, it wasn't the 3rd, but yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense, and nominations and auction dynamics is something I've learned a lot of from you. Like, that was definitely one of the holes in my game that I feel like I've gotten better at, learning from you and all this type of stuff. And it makes sense because you only have, a first, third corner, maybe util. You have a finite number of these. And so if you think Votto and Belt and Longoria and Escobar and Cron and add 3 or 4 more guys into there, you're not going to be able to roster all of them. So once you have 1 or 2 of them at a price that you like, you don't want to let the other ones go too cheap at the end of the draft. So you throw them out early when people still have some money to spend so that, maybe they go for $5 instead of going for $1 or $2. And other people don't get those massive bargains that are inevitable because there's so many of those types of guys. And again, every year is different. Maybe that's not going to be the case this year, but it has been in the recent past.
It's the same numbers, just switch the names.
It's going to be somebody else. But of course, we're going to circle a guy, and we're going to say, this is a Joey Votto nomination, right? So that's what it is. We're going to do some mailbag, and we're going to take audience questions. And in a minute, we're going to do one more topic. If you do have a question, you can start lining up now at the microphone. for us. But let's do a little fun. Let's talk about first round next year. And I'm not interested in who's in the first round, who's the top 5. Everybody else will cover that. Beautiful. But let's just do a little bit of who is somebody that might be drafted in the first round in 2022 that you think actually is even undervalued in the first round?
Again, we don't have ADP yet. We don't know where guys are necessarily going to go. My first inclination would be Trey Turner. He was a guy that the Bad X was high on this year. I wound up with him in several leagues. I think there's a real case to be made for him with the number 1 pick. And, if he winds up going 6, 7, 8, I think he should probably be higher than that. But it's early. Haven't run projections yet. Don't know for sure. But that would be what I would think. Like, he's a good hitter, contributes in all the categories. Maybe a low-risk guy. I don't know, guys. You tell me.
Yeah.
But
And until he gets hit by a pitch, because that's his downfall. He always misses time during the season after getting hit by a pitch because he leans into the pitches, but that's another thing. Yeah, I would actually go with Ronald Acuna Jr. Okay, he's coming off of an injury, but it takes 6 months to recover from an ACL repair. He will be back. He will be fine. He will be undervalued. If he could hypothetically be a number 1 pick. He was the number 2 player in fantasy when he got hurt. He still had, I think, the 4th most stolen bases or 5th most in baseball, and he missed the last 3 months. He's a guy, if you can get him at the end of the first round, I would be all over that in a second.
Yeah, if you want to draft him before he gets on a field. As soon as he gets on a field in spring training, whoa, his ADP goes from late first, early second, all the way up to the beginning. Well, he's healthy, guys.
Yeah, we are going to see that with him.
Yes.
His ADP is going to go up from the beginning of February to the end of March.
Yes.
And, of course, nothing will happen in that one day in his terms of his recovery to warrant such a drastic thing. So there's going to be a market inefficiency to exploit at some point. I'm going to go with Bo Bichette. As I said before, Bo Bichette is the guy to bank on. He's now done this a couple of years in a row. He's a lock for that batting average, which is so key. He's a lock for that you got to get stolen bases in the first 4 rounds. He's a lock there. He'll give you plenty of power. That lineup in the Blue Jays is phenomenal. The counting stats, runs and RBIs are 2/5 of your scoring categories. That's 40%. I mean, Bichette is going to be right smack in the middle. I'll go with Bo Bichette. How about somebody who might be drafted in the first round that we think is overvalued and probably shouldn't be drafted in the first round? I'll start with Ruvain.
I'm going to go with Garrett Cole. I'm a little bit nervous about him. He's ERA after not having the sticky stuff. He didn't use sticky stuff, right? No. I think that he is going to be overvalued. I think there are other pitchers there. I think Walker Buehler may be the number 1 pitcher in baseball next year. I think he may be the number 1. You can make a case for DeGrom. I'm a little nervous about him coming back also, but I'm more nervous about Garrett Cole because he's playing in New York. He's playing for his team, which is great, but I'm a little bit nervous. He's got the strikeouts. Those are great, but that 7 ERA over the second half of the season scares me.
Derek?
I was going to say Freddie Freeman because he's a corner infielder, but is Walker Buehler going to be in consideration in the first round? Because if that's the case, I want nothing to do with that.
Really? Wow.
Like literally 0 Walker Buehler for me this year.
Wow. Why?
Because he's not as good as people think he is.
The whip, though, is great. He is
a
whip
when you have a
stabilizer.
220 BABIP, of course the whip's going to be great.
Then who's the number 1 pitcher in baseball right now in fantasy?
I don't know.
Yeah, but we're talking about the future. We're not projecting the past. Like you have to, like you look at what Walker Buehler did. He had all sorts of like good luck metrics. His like underlying like peripheral ERAs were like good, but they weren't great. I don't think Walker Buehler is as good as people think he is. I think he's like the 15th best pitcher in baseball. And for fantasy, he'll be better than that because of innings, because he pitches for the Dodgers. He'll get wins.
Exactly.
But Walker Buehler is not like an ace in the strict sense of the word.
I think you can bank on him for the strikeouts, and I think the whip plays a lot. I mean, the ERA I understand, but I think the whip plays. His career whip is 1.01. It's very, very tough to find great whip players outside of the 7th, 8th round. So I don't know about that Walker Buehler, but hey, that's why we do the show here, to get different opinions. I say Shohei Ohtani is not a first rounder. Regression. Is the guy going to keep up the stealing? Maybe. The batting average is not a great batting average for the first round. I'm not sold on Ohtani. They let him go this year. Who knows? He does have more increased risk because he plays and he pitches. So Who knows? I don't think he's a first rounder.
Hold on, just one second. I'm pulling up Fangraphs on my phone. I'm like, come on.